Assalamu alaikum and a good day to you all. This is your host Abdul Qadir with a new video, the 30th in our Science and History series. This will be a two-part series on food. These were the most difficult to make, not only since I had least knowledge of the subject going in, and I'm aware that some of you know more than me about it, but the most difficult part was providing the information without making it too technical. Anyhow, I've made the effort and your feedback will inform me how much I've succeeded. So let's proceed. This is part 1, food. How nature stores sunlight from photosynthesis to food. We usually take we usually think of food as something simple. We eat when we are hungry, we enjoy its taste, it gives us energy, it helps us grow. But food is far more remarkable than it appears. Every bite you take carries a story that began long before it reached your plate. A story of sunlight, of air, of water, and of plants performing one of the greatest chemical transformations on Earth. From the smallest microscopic bacteria to the largest whales in the ocean. From insects beneath our feet to forests covering the entire continents. Every living thing depends on food. Yet we rarely stop to ask one simple question. Where does food actually come from? Not where it is grown or bought or prepared, but where food itself begins. The answer takes us far beyond farms and forests. It begins 150 million kilometers away with the sun. In our previous episode, The Story of Captured Sunlight, we learned that almost all life on Earth is powered by sunlight. We also learned that plants possess one of nature's most extraordinary abilities. Through a process called photosynthesis, they capture a tiny fraction of the sun's energy and store it in chemical form. Without photosynthesis, Earth would be a very different place. The vast forests, the endless grasslands, the crops that feed humanity, and almost every animal on the planet all ultimately depend on this single process. But photosynthesis is only the beginning of the story. It explains how energy enters the living world. Today we will discover how plants use that captured energy and how it becomes the food that sustains almost every form of life on Earth. Plants are often thought of as passive living things, rooted to the ground, unable to move, silently growing year after year. But appearances can be deceiving. Plants are among nature's master chemists. Like remarkable solar factories, they capture energy from sunlight. But unlike any factories humans have ever built, they use that energy to rearrange atoms and manufacture the molecules of life. They begin with surprisingly simple raw materials: carbon dioxide from the air, water drawn up through its roots, a small supply of minerals from the soil, and energy arriving from the sun. That is all. Yet, from these few simple ingredients, plants manufacture the molecules that sustain almost every form of life on Earth. Using the energy captured during photosynthesis, they rearrange these atoms into new molecules. One of the first and most important molecules they produce is a simple sugar called glucose, formula C6H12O6, a molecule so versatile that plants use it as the starting point for building almost everything else. At first glance, glucose may not seem very remarkable, but it is one of the most important molecules on Earth because glucose is where captured sunlight begins its transformation into living matter. If there is one transformation that defines life on Earth, it is this: plants build much of themselves from the air. At first, that sounds almost impossible. How can something as solid as a tree be built from an invisible gas? The answer lies in carbon dioxide. Plants absorb carbon dioxide through countless tiny openings in their leaves. Using the energy captured during photosynthesis, they combine atoms from carbon dioxide with atoms from water to build glucose molecule. In doing so, they transform simple ingredients into the sugar that become the building blocks of nearly all life on Earth. This remarkable process is called carbon fixation. It is one of the most important transformations on our planet. For the first time, Carbon drifting invisibly through the atmosphere becomes part of a living organism, an invisible gas. An invisible gas becomes a green leaf, a blade of grass, a grain of wheat, the trunk of a tree. Every atom of carbon in every piece of food you have ever eaten, every atom of carbon in every piece of food you have ever eaten, first entered the living world through a plant or one of its microscopic relatives. Quietly, every second, all around us, plants are turning the atmosphere itself into life. But glucose is not the final product of this remarkable process. In many ways, it is only the beginning. From this single simple sugar, plants build towering trees, delicate flowers, sweet fruits, nourishing grains, strong fibers, and the seeds that will begin the next generation. How can one small molecule become such an extraordinary variety of living forms? The answer is that glucose is far more than just a sugar. It is one of nature's most versatile building blocks. Like bricks used to construct many different kind of buildings, glucose can be transformed into many different substances, each serving a different purpose inside the plant. Some molecules are joined together to form starch. Starch is the plant's food reserve, a way of storing energy for future use. When we eat rice, wheat, corn, or potatoes, much of what we are eating is this stored starch. Some glucose is transformed into cellulose. Cellulose forms the walls around every plant cell, giving plants their basic structure and strength. In woody plants, another substance called lignin is added to these cell walls. Lignin makes wood hard, rigid, and durable. Together, cellulose and lignin allow trees to grow tall and strong, standing for decades or even centuries. Plants also convert glucose into oils and fats, especially inside seeds. These are concentrated stores of energy, providing young seedlings with the nourishment they need when they first begin to grow. But plants do even more. Using minerals absorbed from the soil, particularly nitrogen, and combining them with carbon based molecules, they produce amino acids. These amino acids are then assembled into proteins. Proteins build and repair plant tissues, speed up chemical reactions, transport substances, and carry out thousands of essential tasks that keep every plant alive. From one simple sugar, plants create an astonishing variety of molecules. Food is not a single substance, it is an entire collection of carefully constructed biological molecules. Now, something even more remarkable begins to happen. Plants use these materials to build themselves. Every leaf that unfolds in spring, every flower that blossoms, every fruit that ripens, every branch that stretches towards the sky is constructed from these molecules. Leaves are built to capture more sunlight. Roots spread through the soil in search of water and minerals. Stems transport water and sugars through the plant. Flowers produce seeds for the next generation. Fruits protect these seeds and help carry them to new places where other plants can begin their life. A plant is not simply growing, it is constantly constructing, repairing, and renewing itself. Imagine a great oak tree. Year after year, it grows taller, its trunk becomes thicker, its branches spread wider. None of it arrives ready made. The tree builds every part of itself, atom by atom, using carbon from the air, water drawn up through its roots, minerals from the soil, and energy captured from sunlight. Growth is not simply something that happens to a plant. Growth is something a plant creates. The work of these remarkable chemists does not end with plants. It spreads throughout the living world. When a caterpillar eats a leaf, the leaf does not remain a leaf. Its molecules are broken apart, rearranged, and rebuilt into part of the insect itself. When a bird eats the caterpillar, those same atoms are rebuilt once again. When a deer grazes on grass, or we eat an apple or a bowl of rice, the same remarkable process continues. Food is far more than something that satisfies hunger. It is carefully constructed biological matter. matter that was first assembled by a plant, then passed from one living organism to another. The carbon that once floated silently through the atmosphere becomes part of a leaf, then part of an animal, and maybe one day become part of your muscles, your skin, or even your brain. Life does not create new matter. It continually rearranges existing matter into new living forms. And that journey has been continuing for hundreds of millions of years. So the next time you sit down to eat, perhaps you'll see your meal a little differently. A grain of rice, a piece of fruit, a slice of bread, or a handful of nuts are far more than food. They are the result of one of nature's greatest achievements. Plants took invisible gases from the air, water from the earth, and energy that had traveled nearly 150 million kilometers from the sun and transformed them into living matter. Every meal is the result of countless remarkable transformations, a story written by nature's master chemists. Yet food alone is not enough. Before it can become movement, growth, warmth, or even thought, it must first be transformed once again. A transformation that takes place inside the tiny cells of every living organism, including you. And that is where our story will continue in the next episode as we explore part 2 of food. This concludes the part 1 of our food discussion. Hope you liked it. Please do provide your feedback through the comment section below and subscribe to the channel if not already. And in the end, as always, thanks for watching. Stay curious and Allah Hafiz.